Today I'm back with another story of Rustin Bond. This is not a ghost story, this is a funny story. The name of the story is The Candle. This book is from Penguin Publication. The name of the book is The Secrets. So let's start today's story, The Candle. We loved to bathe there on hot summer afternoons. Sushil, Raju, Pritambar and I. And there were others as well. But we were the regulars. The ones who meet at other times too, eating at chat shops or riding on bicycles into the tea gardens. The canal has disappeared, or rather, it has gone underground, having been covered over with concrete to widen the road to which it ran parallel for most of its way. Here and there, it went through a couple of large properties, and it was at the extremity of one of these, just inside the boundaries of Miss Gamla's house, that the canal went into a loop, where it was joined by another small canal, and this was the best place for bathing or just roaming around. The smaller boys wore nothing, but we had just reached the years of puberty and kept our kachas on. So, Miss Gamla really had nothing to complain about. I am not sure if this was her real name. I think we call her Miss Gamla because of the large number of gamlas or flower pots that surrounded her house. They filled the veranda, decorated the windows, and lined the approach road. She had a Mali who was always watering the pots, and there was no shortage of water, the canal being nearby. But Miss Kamla did not like small boys or big boys for that matter. She placed us high on her list of pets, along with monkeys who raided her kitchen, sparrows who shattered her sweet peas, and goats who ate her graniums. We did none of these things. Being strictly fun-loving creatures, we did make a lot of noise, spoiling her afternoon siesta. And I think she was offended by the sight of our near-naked bodies cavorting about on the boundaries of her estate. A spinster of her 60s, the proximity of naked flesh, no matter how immature, disturbed and upset her. She had a companion, a nosy Peaky, who followed her around everywhere and set up an ear-splitting bark at anyone who came near. It was barking rather than our play that woke her in the afternoons, and she would emerge from her back veranda, waving a stick at us and shouting at us to be off. We should collect our clothes and lurk behind a screen of lantana bushes, returning the canal as soon as the lady and the dog were back in the house. The canal came down from the foothills, from a hill called Nala Pani, where a famous battle had taken place 150 years back between the British and Gurkhas. But for some quirky reasons, possibly because we were not very good at history, we called it the Panipat Canal, after a more famous battle north of Delhi. We had our own mock battles, wrestling on the grassy barks on the canal before plunging into the water. It was no more than waist high, flaying around with shouts of joy, with no one to hinder our animal spirits, except Miss Kamla. Down the path she hobbled. She had a pronounced limp, waving her walnut wood walking stick at us, while her bulging-eyed Peaky came whapping at her heels. "Be off, you chokra boys," she shouted. "Off to your filthy homes, or I'll put the police onto you." And on one occasion she did report to us to the local thana, and a couple of policemen came along, told us to get dressed, and warned us of the property. But the head constable was Pritambar's brother-in-law's brother-in-law, so the ban did not last for more than a couple of days. We were soon back at our favorite stretch of canal. When Mrs. Gamla saw that we were back, as merry and disrespectful as ever, she was furious. She nearly had a fit when Raju, probably the most wicked of four of us, did a jig in front of her, completely in the nude. When Miss Gamla advanced upon him, stick raised, he jumped into the canal. "Why don't you join us?" shouted Sushil, taunting the enraged woman. "Jumping in and cool off." I called not to be outdone in villainy. The little pig ran up and down the banks of the canal, yapping furiously, dying to sink its teeth into our bottoms. Miss Gamla came right down to the edge of the canal, waving her stick, trying to connect with any part of Raju's anatomy that could be reached. The fury of the stick caught him on the shoulder and he gave up a yell of pain. Mrs. Gamla gave a shrill cry of delight. She had scored a hit. She made another launch at Raju, and this time I caught the end of the stick and pulled. Instead of letting go of the stick, Miss Gamla hung on to it. I should have let go then, but not an impulse. I gave it a short, sharp pull, and to my horror, both walking stick and Mrs. Gamla tumbled into the canal. Miss Gamla went under for a few seconds. Then she came to the surface, spluttering, and screamed. There was a frenzy of barking from the peak. Why had he been left out of the game? Wisely, he forbore from joining us. He went to the aid of Mrs. Gamla with every intention of pulling her out of the canal, but she backed away, screaming, "Get away from me! Get away!" Fortunately, the walking stick had been carried away by the current. Miss Gamla was now in danger of being carried away too. Floundering about, she had backed away to a point where a secondary canal joined the first, and here the current was swift. Even the boys, big and small, avoided the spot. It formed a little whirlpool before rushing on. "Mem Sahib, be careful," shouted Pritambar. "Watch out," I shouted. "You won't be able to stand against the current." Raju and Sushil lunged forward to help, but with a look of hatred Miss Gamla turned away and tried to walk downstream. A surge in the current swept her off her legs. Her gown blowed up, turning her into a sailboat, and she moved slowly downstream, arms flailing as she tried to regain her balance. We scrambled out of the canal and ran along the bank, hoping to overtake her. But we were hindered by the pig, who kept snapping at our heels, and by the fact that we were without our clothes and approaching the busy Dilaram Bazaar. Just before the bazaar, the canal went underground, emerging about 200 meters further on. At the junction of the old survey road at the East Canal Road, to our horror, we saw Miss Gamla float into a narrow tunnel that carried the canal along its underground journey. If she didn't get stuck somewhere in the canal, she would emerge, hopefully still alive, at the other end of the passage. We ran back for our clothes, dressed, then ran through the bazaar. I did not stop running until we reached the exit point of the canal road. This must have been taking us 10 to 15 minutes. We took up our positions on the culvert where the canal emerged and waited. We waited and waited. No sign of Miss Gamla. "She must be stuck somewhere," said Pritambar. "She'll drown," said Sushil. "Not our fault," said Raju. "If we tell anyone, we'll get into trouble. They'll think we pushed her in." "We'll wait a little longer," I said. So we hung about the canal banks, pretending to catch tadpoles and hoping that Miss Gamla would emerge, preferably alive. Her walking stick floated past. We did not touch it. It would be an evidence against us, said Pritambar. The dog had gone home after seeing his mistress disappear down the tunnel. Like allies, I thought, only that was a dream. When it grew dark, we went our different ways, resolving not to mention the episode to anyone. We might be accused of murder, but now we felt like murderers. A week passed and nothing happened. No bolted body was found floating in the lower reaches of the canal. No Mem Sahib was reported missing. They say the guilty was always returned to the scene of the crime. More out of curiosity than guilt, we came together one afternoon, just before the rains broke, and crept through the strawberry hills behind the Miss Gamla's house. All was silent, all was still. No one was playing in the canal. The mango trees were unattended. No one touched Mrs. Gamla's mangoes. Trespassers were more afraid of her than of her lathi-wielding Mali. We crept out of the bushes and advanced towards the cool, welcoming water flowing past us. And then came to a shout from the house. "Scoundrels! Gundas! Chokra boys! I'll catch you this time. And there stood Miss Kamla, tall, menacing, alive and well, flourishing a brand new walking stick, and advanced down her steps. It's her ghost, gasped Raju. No, she's real, said Sushil. Must have got out of the canal somehow. Well, at least we aren't murderers, said Pritambar. No, I said, but she'll murder us if we stand here any longer. Miss Gamla had been joined by her Mali, the yelping pig, and a couple of other retainers. Let's go, said Raju. We fled the scene and we never went there again. Miss Gamla had won the battle of Panipat.